Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Leslie Ticktin, Director of Admissions, and on behalf of the admissions team, it's my pleasure to welcome you to Wolf Wednesday. We really appreciate that you've chosen to spend time with us tonight. We know that it's tough to be on Zoom at the end of a long day, so we're really glad you're here. Tonight, the topic is athletics, and I'd like to give you a sense of what the plan is for this evening. To start off, here are some notes about the Zoom event. We'd love to see you, so if you're comfortable with it, please turn on or start the video function. To make the audio experience better for everyone, we've muted all the participants. And our guest speakers will unmute themselves. We're all pretty good at that now. If you have questions, please feel free to use the chat function. We will have a live Q&A later on in the session, and we'd love to hear from you. It's been so great to be in touch with so many of you. And if we haven't had a chance to connect with you yet, the JCHS admissions team is myself, our admissions associate, Michelle Kushner, who sends her regards. She can't be with us tonight. Also with us is our Director of Enrollment Management, Mary Ellen Hunt, and she'll be moderating our Q&A in a little bit. For the next 40 minutes or so, you'll hear from us as well as our athletics director, Sean Moeller, who's very excited to tell you more about all of our awesome athletic programs. And after a few quick announcements, our 4 superstar student ambassadors, Dafne, Leora, Renan, and Jonah, will introduce themselves, and they're going to help answer some of your questions that you've sent us on the Google form or that you'll be asking in the chat. Before we get started, I just want to quickly share a few admission announcements with you. It's been so great to speak with many of you as you're going through the application process, and it's exciting to see some familiar faces in the Zoom squares. If we haven't been on the phone or Zoom call together, we look forward to connecting with you soon. We just want to make you aware of a few important things happening in admissions. First, we want to remind you to check your emails on Friday afternoons. All families who have inquired with JCHS, that includes all of you, receive an email from JCHS admissions every Friday afternoon, and we review some of the important things that come up during the week. We share new and exciting announcements, and we always include an admissions timeline for you. So you can refer back to these emails and get really useful information. Second, we're thrilled to announce that we have in-person visits to JCHS. Some of you have already done so. We are now allowed to invite fully vaccinated guests onto campus, so please be sure to check out our tour schedule on Ravenna, and you can register for all of our in-person visits and tours there. We quickly just want to explain the difference on Ravenna between a tour and a visit. The visit also includes a tour. All in-person visitors must provide proof of vaccination ahead of time, and the group sizes will be very limited. The events we call in-person campus tours on Ravenna will be on school days when our current JCHS students have virtual learning. We invite you onto campus, parents and students. You'll see classrooms, you'll hear more about our programs from the admissions team. Teachers and students will be off campus. Now, for what we call student visits on Ravenna, this experience is for students only to enter our building. Students will be required to wear a mask throughout the visit. This will be a chance for 8th graders to walk through the JCHS campus, meet some of our community, and see what the school day is like on a typical day. The tour will be co-led by student ambassadors, and the guests will have a chance to ask questions, and we'll stop by some classrooms. Parents will be invited also to meet outside in our front courtyard, and we'll have some of our wonderful parent ambassadors there. This is optional, not required for the parents. We've just opened up a few more spaces on Ravenna. We haven't told everyone yet, so you're hearing this first. Be sure to check out the few remaining open dates. And lastly, open house. Many of you attended our virtual house a few weeks ago, and we thought it was fantastic. Thank you. We're excited to host another one for those of you who didn't join us yet. It's coming up next week on Thursday, November 4th at 5 o'clock on Zoom, and you can register on Ravenna. We'd love to see you. So we hope that you continue the conversations, and we hope that we'll see your family more throughout the fall at our virtual and in-person events. And now I'm thrilled to introduce Miss Mary Ellen Hunt, who will introduce you to our athletic director, some of our student athletes, and she will moderate a fun-filled Q&A session.
Until, thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you. It is wonderful to see you and to see so many familiar faces. So our student athletes really have a great time participating in so many different sports. We have a wide variety of offerings at JCHS. So to kick things off, we'd like to share a video with you that highlights many aspects of the JCHS athletics program. While we're taking a look at the video, though, I'm going to ask you to be thinking about any questions you might have for us about the athletics program, questions for Coach Moeller or for our student ambassadors. Please feel free to put those into the chat. We're monitoring the questions as we go along, and we will try to get to as many as we can. If we don't get to your particular question tonight, we'll make sure to circle back around to you afterwards. So to get us started, let's learn some more about JCHS athletics from Coach Sean Moeller. So if you could run the video, Joe.
My name is Sean Moeller, and I'm the athletic director here at Jewish Community High School. We offer a wide variety of varsity sports at JCHS, junior varsity programs, club sports, everything from soccer to cross country, from basketball to rock climbing. There really is a sporting niche for every student to experience. Being a really inclusive and tightly knit school community, one of the things that we love to be able to offer our student athletes is an environment where all levels of athletic background and experience are welcome, while still remaining highly competitive. A number of our teams have gone on to advance to North Coast Section Championships in recent years, including boys soccer and girls volleyball, and our boys basketball team even reached the NorCal semifinals in 2019. The main ingredient to success for our JCHS sports teams is definitely our top-notch coaching staff. We have a number of on-campus coaches, seasoned coaches who have been with our teams for a number of years, as well as a number of off-campus coaches who bring a ton of experience, both playing experience and coaching experience, tremendous amount of passion and care for our student athletes. Our philosophy is to play hard, but always play the right way. And our student athletes have recently been recognized by our league for demonstrating the highest ideals of sportsmanship. Another advantage of playing sports at JCHS is that our athletes can find an opportunity to play varsity sports in a competitive league from day one. We have freshmen playing in all of our varsity programs, so they can become four-year varsity players by the time they graduate, which is quite rare in high school sports. Our athletes are also intimately involved on the operational side of our sports program. Everything from volunteering as game staff, to supporting their peers at sports games, to planning school spirit events, and even serving on our student athlete advisory committee. From coach to player to the amazing pride and camaraderie that develops over the years, these friendships and mentorships will last a lifetime, and that's really what we want these student athletes to take away from this experience.
Nice, thank you so much. And I know we just saw you on the video, but Coach Moeller, since we have you here, could you just go ahead and introduce yourself?
Of course. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Sean Moeller. I am the athletic director and head coach of the girls varsity basketball team. Going into my fifth year as athletic director. I love sharing about our athletic programs, and I'm looking really forward to answering all your questions here tonight.
Thanks so much, Coach. We love having you. You've done so many amazing things with this program. So I'm going to ask our student ambassadors also to introduce themselves, and maybe we can just go around. If you could say your name and the grade that you're currently in, also what middle school you come from, and what sports you play for JCHS. So could we start with Renan and then go Renan, Leora, Daphne, and Jonah?
Hi, I'm Renan. I'm a senior at JCHS, obviously. And I went to OHDS for middle school. I'm a 4-year varsity soccer player. I'm now the captain. I played baseball, volleyball, and I'm now leading the Frisbee club. And I'm excited to participate in the rock climbing club for the first time. Yeah.
Nice, thank you. We'll hear more about all of that. Leora, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Leora. I'm a senior and I went to Brandeis Marin, and I've been on the volleyball team for 4 years and swimming team for a couple years, but I also tried out basketball, tennis, and soccer at JCHS.
Busy. Amazing. Thank you. Daphne?
Hi guys, I'm Daphne. I'm a senior. I went to Oakland Hebrew Day School for middle school, and I've played on girls basketball varsity since freshman year and on varsity cross country since freshman year. And I play on 2 club lacrosse teams outside of JCHS.
I'm always amazed at how JCHS students can fit all of this in. Jonah, can you bring us home?
My name is Jonah. I am a junior. I went to the Brandeis School of San Francisco. I'm involved in playing basketball. I played my freshman and sophomore year, and I'm looking forward to playing baseball in the spring this year.
I can't wait for baseball season to start. Excellent, thank you. So Coach Moeller, maybe if we could kick it off with a question for you. In the video, you mentioned that JCHS is a place where students of all levels can participate, and yet we're still able to really compete at a very high level. So can you talk about how that works, how we approach maybe JV versus varsity teams, for instance? What requirements are there, for instance, for a student who wants to come into a sport that they have no experience with?
Yeah, I'd love to answer that question. And to be honest with you, there really are no requirements. And it's one of the reasons why I love being athletic director at JCHS. It's really unique to our school. We really have a space and a team and a level for every student athlete, regardless of their experience. Certain sports lend themselves better than others for student athletes coming in that don't have as much experience. But if you want to play a sport, you'll play a sport at JCHS. You'll play the sport that you want to play. And like, for example, as Daphne mentioned, she's been, playing basketball and cross country since her freshman year. So 4 years of playing varsity sport is pretty awesome. And just to, I guess, describe the difference between junior varsity and varsity, junior varsity is really more for skill development. So for those students that are a little less experienced for the junior varsity programs that we offer, they'll be able to be in an environment where they can really focus more on skill development. And then at the varsity level, really, we're competing for championships, and we're in a very competitive league, really fun league to be in. And so varsity levels for more seasoned athletes who have a bit more experience.
Nice, thank you so much. And I know you mentioned that we've had freshmen who have gotten onto the varsity team. Conversely, have you ever had like a junior or a senior who want to try something new and wind up playing JV?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've actually had seniors who for the first time decide to play a sport and absolutely love it. For whatever reason, they were involved in other activities, theater and other extracurriculars, and then they pick up a sport later on. So yeah, we have, we have student athletes playing at all levels, all grades. It kind of just depends on what is your best fit.
Nice. I love that there's such a mix on these teams of grade levels. So I have a question for the seniors. If you could take us back to your freshman year, if you would. Often the practices for fall sports start even a couple of weeks before regular classes. So what was it like in those first days, coming into practice, getting to know people on the team? If you can share some of your memories and highlights from that. Maybe we could go Daphne, Leora, and Renan.
Yeah, I can go. I actually remember my first cross country practice like really vividly. I remember it was after the freshman retreat, and like I came back and I went to cross country practice, and I was so nervous because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to like run. Like, what if I'm, gonna be too slow, blah, blah. And there's all these like senior boys on the team, whatever. And I was really freaked out. But we ended up just like running this course polo fields, and I remember like all of the people on the team were like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're on the team. Like, they're like, you're already starting off so good. Like, this is so fun. Like, they were all just so encouraging to me and really supportive. And I felt like really comfortable in that environment after kind of like the support of the upperclassmen kind of encouraging me on.
So not as scary as it could have been, huh?
Yeah.
Nice. Leora, do you want to go?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I started volleyball like a couple weeks before school started. And I also, like Daphne, I was super nervous. And then I remember the upperclassmen like asking me for my name and cheering me on. And then when we started school a couple weeks later, Like when they would pass me in the hallways, they would say my name and like congratulate me. And it was just like a really welcoming community.
So nice. Love it. Renan, how about you? What was your first days like?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous because I did have some soccer background, but I was coming onto a very different environment I was an 8th grader going into freshman year. I was very small, as I'm sure the staff know. And I was playing with now grown men and I was super scared. But truly it was like the best experience. I came on and all of these upperclassmen, it's like it's a little group. You're part of this little community. And to sort of get this taste, this very like small taste of the JCHS community before really being launched into that full experience really gives you something to like sort of just accumulate or get acclimated to that environment, and make some friends, make a community early on. And then you go into the JCHS experience and it's so much less daunting because you have this sort of community that you've built for yourself. And also I think that just like all the upperclassmen were really just kind and accepting of all the kids, no matter their skill level, and just wanted to help everyone improve. Yeah.
What a great way to get to know people before, classes even started. And Renan, you may have felt like you were small, but you always stood tall. We always knew that about you. So Jonah, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about time commitment. I know you said you play basketball. What does the time commitment look like for basketball, for instance?
Yeah, so as Coach Muller said, everybody makes a team. JV practices 2 to 3 times a week, and varsity practices around 5. My freshman year, the JV team actually had the ability to practice in the JCC, and they have an amazing indoor court, and hopefully we can go there again in the near future. However, some practices may be on the outdoor court, which is still fun, as it is a different experience being outside. Varsity practices at the Buchanan YMCA all 5 days. Varsity and JV play a similar amount of games, but varsity plays the games after JV, which can lead to you getting home late sometimes. However, there's always going to be shuttles for you to ride in order to make sure that you're not home too late and have time to do your homework. And yeah, that's the time commitment.
Worth it, right? So Coach Muller, I see that we have in the chat a question, and we've sort of touched on it a little bit, about sports starting before the school year starts. Is that even for 9th graders that occurs? And maybe you could talk a little bit about which sports that happens with.
Sure. So it's not just a JCHS, this is a CIF North Coast section. There's a start date for every season, and for the fall season, which at JCHS constitutes cross country and our girls volleyball programs and our boys soccer program. So those 3, they typically start about 2 weeks before the first day of classes. As some of the student athletes have talked about, it's a great way to meet new students and just to get back on campus and with your friends before school begins. But yeah, it's not unique to JCHS. That's across the board. High school sports start in early August.
Nice. And it seems even for basketball that basketball season is just starting, but weren't you running some open gyms even before the season started?
Yeah, so that's also common for other schools as well. Prior to the official start date of each season, we have, training. Every sport's different. For basketball, we do open gyms in the month leading up to the season just to get kids conditioned back on the court. It's what we're allowed to do before we actually start official practices, which actually begin on Monday. So basketball season's coming up next week. And then for other sports, same deal in the springtime, usually in January, the swim team, the baseball team, girls soccer, boys volleyball, all of our spring sports will be, training and getting ready for the spring seasons.
Ooh, nice. And you mentioned other schools. What are some of the schools that we play?
Yeah, so JCHS is a very proud member of the Bay Area Conference, which constitutes 28 independent schools all over the Bay Area. One of the most prominent, I would say, independent school conferences in the state of California in terms of championships won, et cetera. And then within that conference, we belong to the Bay County's Central League, all San Francisco schools. So we're talking about Bay School, Gateway, International, Drew, and SF Waldorf. So those are our league schools. And then beyond that, for non-league, we oftentimes play schools like Urban, University, Marin Academy, Lick Wilmerding, etc.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I want to put a question to any of the students that would like to answer this one. We know that your commitment as athletes means that you put in a lot of practice time, as well as a lot of game time, but all of you do other things at JCHS. So I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about how you balance athletics with schoolwork, with other priorities in your life, with, student government, just the other things that you're doing. Maybe Leora, could you kick us off?
Yeah, sure. So I'm part of our student council, which is we call it Knesset, and I lead our weekly school assemblies. And then I'm also leader of 2 clubs, so the Environmental Club and GSA Club. And I'm also a part of the SAC board, which I think Dafne will talk about later. And I mean, I always have time to try anything I want and join new clubs, and I never have a problem because the teachers are so, sorry, the teachers are so willing to work with us. And if we need help, they're always open to office hours or tutorial.
That might be a teacher calling you right now with an extension.
Yeah, that was my teacher.
Excellent. Thank you, Leora. Dafne, do you want to talk a little bit about all the things that you do? You balance quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, just balancing school and sports. I think all the teachers are obviously very open to giving extensions. I remember one time last year we had a game that was super far away, and a basketball game that was super far away and super late, and I had an essay draft due to my English teacher, and I was like, hey, I just can't get it in, I'm so sorry. And she was like, no problem, I'll give you more time, you can have it till next week. And she was just super accommodating, and I think that that's super helpful. And also kind of that's the fun part about school, is having so many different activities, having sports and doing school. I also run the Fashion with Compassion Club, which is really fun. I think that that's what makes the experience fun. It's not just schoolwork.
And can you say just a sentence about what Fashion with Compassion is?
Yeah, Fashion with Compassion is a club where we run a charity fashion show and event banquet where all of the clothes sold are donated to charity, and we get clothes donated from a bunch of brands, over 40 brands. And it's a whole year's worth of planning the event and practicing.
Takes a lot of time. And then you're also in the student advisory, the athletic advisory committee, right?
Yeah, I'm also on SAC. So SAC is in a group of athletes who are super dedicated to their sports, and we meet a couple times a month to just discuss our sports and to plan events and to kind of as the leaders of our sports kind of just bring positive attitudes and just make sure that everything's going smooth. All right.
Nice. And Jonah, do you want to jump in and add anything about how you balance all of the different priorities?
Yeah, a lot of times, especially my freshman year, I had a lot of work, but also had a basketball game in Marin, and I'd get home pretty late and I'd have a lot of work, and I felt so stressed about it. And you don't want to go and ask your teacher to give you an extension, but all my friends told me to because it actually works. And I'd go to my teachers, and they're very understanding. If you tell them that you were playing sport or really just doing anything, and that was getting in the way of you doing work, the teachers are never hesitant to give you an extension, which makes sure that you are never stressed about getting work done on time.
Nice. How about you, Renan?
I mean, I live in Berkeley, which is a pretty big commute. I know that Dafne also lives in the East Bay and Leora in Marin. And so those are all big commutes, but again, I think has been said many times by every single person here, the teachers are just really forgiving. They want you to succeed, which I think sets JCHS apart from a lot of other high schools. They really just want you to learn. So if you want to learn, then they're going to be, it's not about getting it done in the deadline or it's really just about, are you understanding? Do you need to meet in office hours with me to understand? And so, yeah, they just really just want to help you.
I love that the teachers really try to know who people are as whole people, not just as some person that's in their English class, but they want to see all of the things, all the sides of you. I see that there's been a question that's sent to us about varsity and JV for girls basketball. So Coach Muller, I'm wondering if you can answer that. And then there's also a question about how often practices are.
Okay. So typically we do have junior varsity for our girls program. This is the first year we haven't had it, but I think it's just an anomaly at a small school. It kind of fluctuates in terms of participation with each sport year to year. We have a very healthy varsity program this year with 14 players. To answer your question about practices, our practice schedule for all sports is typically Monday through Thursday. For some of the varsity sports, we do Sunday practices because, of course, for Friday, Saturday, and Shabbat, we're not practicing during those times or playing contest. With rare exceptions, we do have playoff games occasionally on a Saturday night late after sundown, and we make accommodations for that. But typically practices are going to be after school, Monday through Thursday. And then again, it depends on what level, if it's sub-varsity or varsity, whether you're practicing directly after school or some of the varsity practices are a bit later. But all of them end before 6:30.
And I feel like some of the teams have also had little kind of mini Shabbaton sleepovers. If a game is taking place really far away, maybe they'll stay over at somebody else's house so that they can get to an early morning game the next day.
That's how we roll. Yes. I mean, maybe some of the players have had this experience and they can speak to it better than I, because I wasn't at the sleepovers, but yes, we make accommodations. We have student athletes living all over the Bay Area, as has been said, East Bay, Peninsula, Marin, and the city. So yeah, we open up our doors to make sure that we can get to the games and get home in time and still honor all of the family requirements and traditions that we need to do.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Leora, I'm seeing a question about girls volleyball team in the chat. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how tryouts work. How is it with the girls volleyball team?
Yeah, sure. So the first week of volleyball, we all have practice together, and then the coach kind of looks at the upperclassmen athletes or the newer freshmen to see their level. And then I think it's either the second or third week we break off into JV and varsity. And even this year we have some freshmen on the varsity team, some sophomores, and it's just a mix of everyone, which is really fun because you get to meet everyone. And then I think later in the year we practice sometimes together, and practices are side by side, so we have we toggle together, and it's just really fun to get to know both JV and varsity team.
Good opportunity too for people to kind of cross-pollinate, learn skills from each other. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Can I just add to that also the junior varsity and varsity volleyball programs all have their games together through the season. So they, as Leora said, they travel together. They're two separate teams, but it's kind of like one volleyball family.
Nice. Thank you. And actually, maybe this one is for Renan and Leora, actually could be for anybody. It sounded like when you were introducing yourselves, you participate in so many different sports, soccer, ultimate, baseball. Leora, you've been doing volleyball, basketball, swimming. So what do you enjoy most about being a multi-sport athlete?
I think that each sport sort of reveals something new about each person that you're participating in. So it's an entirely new community with each sport. So one sport might be really intense and focused on trying to win in championship or whatever. But another sport might not be as intense and you're just focusing on having fun, like rock climbing. I don't think we're competing at all. I think it's just going to the gym with your friends and just climbing. And so I think that really the sports program is about just having fun with your friends. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. So there's the competitive way of doing that. But with each different sport, you're really just you're hanging out with your friends. You're just having fun.
Nice. Excellent. Leora, do you want to add anything onto that?
Yeah, sure. So each sport is a whole new set of athletes. So you get to meet new kids and get to know them really well because you have practices every day. So it's kind of just like what Coach Mueller said, like building a new family at every sport. And it's really nice to like progress throughout the years and like get to reform every year and just like grow together.
Nice, excellent. Thank you so much. I have a question in the chat. Do you have to have certain grades to be able to play sports? So Coach Mueller, I'm wondering if you could address that.
Well, the answer is yes. There is a minimum GPA that is set at the state level, which is 2.0. And I'm happy to say that I've never had to deal with that at JCHS. We have, we're scholar athletes. So while that bar is quite low specifically for our sports teams, we don't have a GPA above that is our school minimum. It's just the 2.0, which is standardized across the state of California.
Nice, thank you. Thank you so much. Daphne, I'm gonna circle over to you. I know that you played 4 years for JCHS in a number of different ways, but you also said you played for a club team. Can you talk about how all of that fits in, the things that you're doing outside JCHS with the stuff that you do in JCHS? How do you balance that out?
Yeah, of course. So I play on a year-round club traveling team that only practices on Sundays. So I'm able to play like basketball and cross country throughout the week while still being able to attend my lacrosse practices and go to the tournaments, which are on the weekends. And I think that JCHS really like kind of like allows for playing on club teams and really encouraging their athletes to go, outside the school and participate in a lot of different sports. And also, I also play on a club team during the spring. So that's like my spring season sport. And I just go to the practices after school like I would for JCHS. And having also kind of playing multiple sports, they all like feed into each other. So like when you're practicing the skills of like basketball, like those same skills that you learn will feed into lacrosse and the other sports. So it all kind of is really helpful.
Nice. You must have an incredible amount of energy. Coach Mueller, just thinking about what Daphne was saying about, training, but I'm also thinking we have some opportunities for doing some training and fitness. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the Den facility that we have at JCHS and how that's used by our athletes.
Well, I'd love to, because it's brand new. It's like a new toy on campus that's being used in a variety of ways. Essentially, we've turned our dance room into a functional training room. So with help from a grant from the Olympic Club Foundation, we were able to put about $25,000 worth of functional training equipment into the dance room, and we're using it in a variety of ways. So not only can any student on campus schedule time to do workouts during their club blocks or during their free blocks, our student athletes are using the space with their coaches to do preseason training. We're just starting that with basketball now. And then there's, the expectation and plan for next summer to have it be utilized for preseason training for fall sports and kind of just all sports. So it's just another way for our student athletes to get stronger and better prepared for their seasons.
Nice. And could you also talk a little bit about where we play, like where do we practice soccer? Where are the places that JCHS teams play?
Sure. So although we don't have a gym on campus, we're quite fortunate to have city facilities that are mostly walking distance from campus, and if not, short driving distance. We have a fleet of vehicles that we use for transportation for all of our sports, which is amazing. And so Jonah mentioned the JCC. We use the JCC for basketball. We use Buchanan YMCA. We use Ella Hill Hutch Community Center, which is in the Western Addition. For basketball, for soccer, we use mostly Kimball Field, which is literally just a stone's throw from campus, but we also use Beach Chalet, Polo Fields, Amazon Crocker, baseball fields all over the city. So, it's basically either Buchanan Y, L Hutch, or we use SF Park and Rec fields. And that's pretty typical for most independent schools in our area in terms of renting out field space.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jonah, I have a question for you. It's a little bit more of a general question. I'm wondering, what do you feel like are some of the greatest benefits that you've gotten out of playing for JCHS?
Yeah, so I feel like that I've made so many new connections with people that I really would have never talked to. Well, okay, I went in my freshman year and I kind of established a group of friends, and then I started playing sports, and I connected with a lot of people that I hadn't connected to before through sports, through basketball. There are about like 15 kids on the JV freshman team that I was on, and I connected with every single one of the players. And I still have most of those relationships today. A lot of them have graduated, but all the kids are still at school. I talk to them frequently, and it's kind of like a little tight knit community within that JV boys basketball team.
Nice. And do you feel like you're passing that along to the new folks, the new freshmen that are coming in?
For sure, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And then I have one more sort of general question for all our student ambassadors, and that is, what was it that made you choose JCHS? So maybe we could go start with Renan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it always seemed like a no-brainer. Both my siblings went to JCHS, and I think that seeing my siblings sort of like develop this community. My sister actually tried out Berkeley High, and she liked it so little. I guess I said that weird, but she really disliked it, and so she actually switched to JCHS in like October. And so, I mean, that made it pretty obvious that maybe it wouldn't be the right thing for me. But I think that OHTS is a pretty small school, and so JCHS seemed like something that wouldn't be overwhelming socially, like there wouldn't be like so many options. But what I realized pretty quickly was that with it, even though the two schools have the same amount of kids in them, at JCHS all the kids are your age. There actually is a lot of social diversity and a lot of options. And so I just think that it really gave me a place to develop myself, develop my Jewish identity, and it's just a safe place to like discover yourself and discover the people around you. And I think I saw that then, and I see it even more now.
So glad you saw that then. Leora, how about you? What was it that made you choose JCHS?
I have a similar story to Renan. So both of my siblings went to JCHS, and I remember being really worried about the commute, but actually like through the commute, I made friends. Like we always had fun on the bus. And then it's just like JCHS is so well known for its community, and it's so true because you could talk to anyone, all your teachers, and it's just like it's a good fit for everyone. You could do whatever, be whoever you are, and everyone's super accepting.
Nice, thank you. And Dafne, I'm just now realizing, by the way, how many siblings we have in our ambassador group this year. Dafne, how about you?
Yeah, also both of my siblings, both my sisters went to JCHS. But also I think that because it's it's a smaller school, I was able to kind of like participate in so many different aspects of it. Like I'm able to be a part of like the arts program, and I'm able to play on varsity sports and like run clubs that I probably would not have been able to do at like a large public school. So I think that was like very attractive.
Nice. And Jonah, how about you? What made you choose JCHS?
I really wanted to continue with a Jewish education, and I really wanted to continue playing sports. And I felt like if I went to another school, I might not have been able to receive that opportunity of playing any sport that I wanted. And I really love the idea that anyone makes the team that they try out for. And also the community, like everyone else has said, even in sports teams, you develop a small community there that you then transfer to the classroom, and you can build new friendships, create new bonds that can really help you in school and broaden your view of the social aspect at JCHS.
Nice. I love that there are so many opportunities you can find at JCHS. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. And I want to just thank all of you, Coach Moeller, Jonah, Daphne, Leora, Renan, for being here and for sharing those answers and sharing your wisdom about JCHS. So Leslie, I'm going to toss it back to you. Away you go.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary Ellen. And I echo your gratitude to Coach Moeller and Renan, Daphne, Leora, and Jonah. We really, really appreciate you sharing all about your JCHS experiences and your athletic experiences. A big thank you to our 8th grade families as well for joining us tonight. Please be sure to check those inboxes each Friday for an email from JCHS admissions. And we look forward to seeing you at an upcoming visit or a tour or at our open house on November 4th. And of course, you're always welcome to join us for more Wolf Wednesday events. So we're going to close tonight like we do each week at our Wolf Wednesdays with a sprinkling of positivity in the chat. Please share one thing that you're grateful for after having spent a little time learning more about athletics at JCHS. Go ahead and type your word and stick around to read others. Thank you, be well, and go Wolves!